Hi, Tom here again. Today we're going to spend all the day talking about last week's challenges and today's weigh-in. One thing that you don't know about me yet is that I do travel a lot. Pretty much every other week I'm on the road eating from restaurants and airports 5 days a week. And last week was one of them. So let's see how I handle that situation. But before we do that, let's go weigh myself. Alexa, what day is it?
Today is Saturday, January 27th.
Let's start by filling in the weight spreadsheet. 195.2 pounds this week. If I copy these cells and paste them down, I found out that I've lost 4.7 pounds since I've started, which is 1.8 pounds more than I expected to be. I expect to lose 1 pound per week, so I'm losing more than that. And on an average, I'm losing 1.6 pounds on the 3 weeks that I've been on the diet. I expect this 1.6 will get closer and closer and closer to 1 as the weeks go by, because that's what I expect to do. It's off a little bit because for some reason I lost 3 pounds that first week. And I don't expect that all the time, so it's definitely going to get closer and closer to 1 as time goes by. As I mentioned in the introduction, I do travel for a living every other week. I leave on Monday morning. I set up a class, and on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday I teach that class. And sometimes I come home Thursday night, and sometimes I come home Friday morning. It all depends on the availability of flights and all that. So being on the road can be a challenge. So let's take a look at what happened this week. My challenge started right away on Monday afternoon when I met my sales engineer, and he wanted to go to Texas de Brazil, a Brazilian steakhouse. I don't know if you've ever been to a Brazilian steakhouse before, but what they do is have a big buffet open to everybody, and then for an extra cost you can pretty much eat a wide variety of meat as much as you want. They just bring it to your table and they ask you if you want it. If you do, you take it. If not, they go away, and they just keep coming and coming and coming until you say no more. Now, my sales engineer wanted to go here because he belongs to a gym, and that gym set out a challenge saying, we want you to eat as little carbs as possible and as much protein as possible during the next 6 weeks. And if that's your goal, these Brazilian steakhouses is the place to go. They'll give you as much protein as you want. And I also had an obstacle of club level access snacks. So let's talk about this. When I went to lunch, I knew I was probably going to eat more than I wanted to. And I did. I didn't eat anywhere near as much as I could have, but I definitely ate more than I would have normally. Come supper time, I thought for sure I would have a smaller dinner to maybe help compensate for it than I normally would have. But what happened is I went to my club level access, where I thought whatever they have is what I'm going to have for dinner. And I kind of snacked in there for a while, and unfortunately for me, after I was done with all the snacking, I felt like I was still hungry and I needed more, so I went downstairs to the restaurant and ordered a normal meal. So I had a normal meal, extra snacks, and an extra big lunch. So overall, at the end of the day, if I would rate Monday as a success or a failure as far as meeting my caloric input, I would say it was definitely a failure. So that's how it started off. Now on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I go to the restaurant and bring in breakfast for everybody. And while I would love to have a nutritional breakfast for everybody, it's just, when it comes right down to it, it's just easier and cheaper to get this kind of stuff. I go to Costco, I get a variety of muffins and pastries, and that is Tuesday's breakfast, at least last week. I then go to Dunkin' Donuts on Wednesday, get a variety of donuts, bring them in. And then on Thursday, I went to Panera Bread and got a variety of bagels to bring in. So that's another challenge, but I put this under the obstacles I overcame. And we'll talk about those later. Another obstacle is one night, usually Tuesday or Wednesday, we go out for a happy hour. We invite the students out and we feed them and we give them drink. And we participate along with it. Another easy evening where you can go crazy as far as caloric input. And if all this wasn't enough, when I get back on Friday, it was my one son's birthday, and we always give them a choice of what kind of meal do they want, whether it be at home or at a restaurant or whatever. And he decided to go to the Cheesecake Factory. And again, if you've ever been to the Cheesecake Factory, you know they have huge servings, and a lot of calories are in those servings, especially their desserts, their cheesecake specifically. So overall, a challenging week where I could have definitely gained weight if I hadn't been thinking about things. But as we can see, I lost 1 pound, so I must have done something right. So what I want to do is look at each of these challenges and how my mind works and how I did this. The first thing I want to look at is the breakfast: muffins, pastries, donuts, and bagels. And to answer this one, I need to go back into the 4 stages of diet competence I talked about a couple weeks ago. If you remember, step 3 or stage 3, you have knowledge of what you're supposed to be doing, and you think about it every time you stick something in your mouth. When a diet gets ingrained into your brain and you don't have to think about it anymore, you do it automatically, you end up at stage 4. You just don't think about it. You just look at a piece of food and say, this is what I want to eat. Or you look at a piece of food and say, I have no desire to eat that whatsoever. And you don't even think about not eating it. You just don't. And for me, this is where I am with breakfast: muffins, pastries, donuts, and bagels. I go into the store, I buy them. When I'm in the store, do I think about, oh, I'd really like to have this particular variety right now for myself? Nope, I don't think it. When I go to the venue where I teach and I lay all the pastries out, do I think about grabbing one for myself? No, I don't. I'm at this stage when it comes to those useless calories for breakfast. I just don't do it. I eat fruit for breakfast, and that's just the way it is. I don't even think about not eating it. I just don't. So all that stuff is no problem for me. Now let's look at another challenge: the Texas de Brazilian Steakhouse. I have a bunch of questions to ask when it comes to challenges. So if you find yourself in a situation and you're thinking about eating some food that you know you probably shouldn't, or you're on the verge of eating a lot more than you should, by definition, you're in stage 3. You're thinking about it. You're not on autopilot like I just described where I am when it comes to pastries and muffins and donuts and things for breakfast. So we're back in stage 3. There's a temptation in front of you, and you have to decide whether to eat it or not, or maybe some other decisions as well. So here are some questions that you can ask yourself. The first question: what is more important to me right now? Achieving my healthy weight or sticking this in my mouth? And I do use the phrase sticking this in my mouth, preferably over something like eating this food, because sticking this in my mouth has a more negative thought in my brain than eating this food. And that's where I want to be at this point. I want to kind of nudge me to not do it. And that phrase nudges me. So this has 1 or 2 answers. Either you want your healthy weight or you want to stick something in your mouth. If you decide that healthy weight is more important to you, then here's your choice. You can find a healthy substitute or don't eat anything at all. For instance, with that donut might have 350 calories. You could substitute it for an apple with 80 calories. Or you can just skip it altogether. If you're not really hungry, skip it. If you are hungry, find a healthy substitute. But what if you decide to stick it in your mouth? So, that's all right. You're not going to go to jail for that decision. So let's ask another question. You definitely want to eat what is there. Question number 2. Will eating a small portion be enough? In other words, allow yourself to have that food that's probably not the best for you, but only have a small portion of it. If the answer is yes, eat the small portion and move on. If the answer is no, eating a small portion will not be enough. Here's the next question. Before you eat, decide on several plans to compensate for overeating this food. And then once you decide on your plan, do a coin flip. So what kind of plan am I talking about? This would be something that you're going to do later in the week or maybe even later in the day to compensate for overeating this one particular food that you stuck in your mouth. Maybe it's to exercise more than you normally would. If you don't exercise at all, then it would be, I'm going to exercise. Maybe you want to do an intermittent fast where you skip several meals to compensate for the overeating. Maybe the next day you're just going to eat salads. And there are a lot of salads out there with a lot of calories, so you're going to eat some salads that don't have a lot of calories. Think about anything that you could do, and all you have to do is think about some other diet that tells you to eat less calories and see what they do. And that could be your plan for just a day or just a meal to compensate for this one. That's the thing about the query theory diet. I do not say you cannot ever, never eat something. Here's one that, yes, you can do it. And this particular example for me would have been, let's say, the Brazilian steakhouse. I did want to eat it. And it wasn't so much that the food was like a sugary donut. It's just that I knew I wasn't going to eat a small portion of what I was going to eat. And I decided that the next day I was going to compensate for it. So let's take a look at that. Here's how this works. It's just like before with the other coin flip. You're going to ask yourself 2 questions. You say, I am going to break my diet with this meal. But to compensate, tomorrow I am going to, heads, I will exercise tomorrow. Tails, I won't exercise tomorrow. And then you flip the coin. And again, the coin flip is not to decide what you're going to do, but to feel your inner emotions at the result of the coin flip. So if I flipped the coin and it came up heads and I went, ugh, I really don't want to do that, then I know that this is not something that I can probably follow through with. Maybe I will follow through with the exercise, but I don't really want to. We only want to do things on the query theory diet that we want to. If your mind tells you when you flip this coin that you're disappointed in the results, then it's not for you. So for me, my coin flip was heads. I will intermittent fast tomorrow. And by my definition for this was I was going to skip breakfast and skip lunch and have a normal dinner at night. Or I won't. And I decided I can do this. And so for me, that was a winner. If exercise wasn't a winner for you, if intermittent fasting is not a winner for you, maybe eating the salads is for you. Or maybe just eating way less per meal is for you. But you have to compensate one way or the other for eating too much. At least you should. If you go through all the coin flips for everything that you think that you could do to compensate for having this one bad meal, and nothing feels right, then you have another choice. And you're going to have to ask the question again. Do I really want to stick this in my mouth or have a healthy weight? Go back to that first question and do it all over again if you have to. If it comes down to wanting to eat a full portion that will exceed your daily calorie needs and you don't want to compensate in any way, then do it and don't feel guilty about it. Why is that? Because one day out of 365 won't hurt. One of the tenets of the query theory diet is you can eat whatever you want. You just have to limit the quantity of whatever you want to eat. But that does not mean on a meal by meal by meal basis. If you want to exceed your limit on a single meal, that's fine. You just have to make sure that overall you do well. So one meal out of one day out of 365 isn't going to hurt. I do not judge success or failure on my part one meal at a time. I do it 1 week at a time. Every Saturday morning when I weigh myself, if I weigh less while trying to lose weight, or I weigh the same if trying to maintain weight, then it was a success. I might have bad days, I might have bad meals, but overall, I don't care about each individual meal or each individual day. I just have to make sure the week was good. That is my goal. So, you have to know that one meal isn't going to be a deal breaker. But too many days out of 7 will hurt. And too many weeks out of 52 will hurt if you do not follow through. Going back to the challenges, my son's birthday cake, piece of Cheesecake Factory celebration cheesecake, probably has 12 to 1,500 calories in it. We just ordered one for 4 of us, and I took a small sliver of it. I was part of the celebration. I didn't deprive myself of being part of that celebration. Everything was cool. I just didn't eat the whole piece of cake. That's all there is to it. By the way, I did type in Cheesecake Factory nutrition just to see how much it did have. This was not the night of, obviously. This was later on. And I was pretty much shocked to find out it's very hard to find a web page from the Cheesecake Factory that talks about their nutrition. Just about every major chain. If you type in the name of that chain and nutrition, you come up with a web page that tells you everything you need to know. I could not find one from the Cheesecake Factory other than this one right here. The Baltimore has a PDF takeout nutrition guide, which is right here. And here it does talk about the calories. It doesn't really tell you the nutrition though, but that's the cool thing about the query theory diet. I don't really care about nutrition. All I care about is this calories. So I went down here to the cheesecake, and I looked for the celebration cheesecake, and it turns out it's one of the few ones that aren't on the list, but I took a look. I mean, other than the original, the ones that do have stuff on it went from about, overall, 1,200 calories to 1,600 calories. So I just figured this celebration cheesecake had 1,200 calories. Just a guess. Yeah, that's well over half of what I should be eating per day to maintain my weight just with one piece of cheesecake. So we definitely don't want to do that too often. This is what I would normally see. I went to TGIF's on Thursday night. It was attached to my hotel. And this is the kind of stuff that I'm used to seeing. Here's their menu. Here's the calories, and it has a whole bunch of columns for different things. And again, what's really cool about the query theory diet, I care about this column right here, total calories, fat calories, saturated, trans fat, cholesterol, sodium, carbs, fiber, sugar, protein. I don't give a hoot. I don't care what those are one way, shape, form, or the other. I only need to know this. Now, I do want to emphasize that if you are into nutrition and you want to do your body right and you think you know what is good and what is bad, and I'll be the first to say that that's up to interpretation as far as what I can see, then sure, take a look at all this stuff. But if you're just purely losing weight, none of this matters. None of this at all matters. Just your total calories. All right. Hope this was good, and I'll see you next week. Bye.